Hi, Scott. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you very much for having me. It's good to be here.
No worries. Scott is the Marketing Director at Matt Burton Associates, so marketing recruitment, and had an organic reach of 12 million last year on LinkedIn. So we're here to talk about excellent content marketing. So hopefully the guy to...
It's questionable what you call excellent.
Awesome. We had a conversation last week, and a big part of what we were talking about is splitting opinions with content. So do you want to just start off with talking about kind of great content and what that looks like in 2020?
Yeah, sure. I mean, talking about what great content is, we talked about dividing opinion being one of the facets to great content typically. I think great content has to be personal to you as well. A lot of people see people like myself or other people who are getting big numbers, and they try and imitate that tone of voice, or they try and imitate the style or the type of content, be it video or text posts or more graphic design heavy content, and they go, I'm going to do it in that way. But the reality is that you probably need to try lots of different styles of content to see which fits best for you. And the most successful type of content will probably relate to your closest set of skills. I'm personally a writer, so written blog type content works best for me, but some people love video content, and that works really well for them. They get some really great numbers. But I think before talking about how to get great content, that's quite...
It's almost like a jump, is it?
Yeah, it's like a jump, isn't it? Like the problem. I think it's best to focus on what's good content, because if you have a level of content which is of a good standard, you're getting 100, 200, 300 likes consistently on all of your posts, you're going to get that great piece of content which goes really viral. Because it's not for us to decide as individuals whether the content's great. It's for the market to decide, which is the great leveling factor of LinkedIn. So yeah, if you can create good, consistent content, you'll have a few gems every year or something, which will really fly for you. That's what I would say.
And what sort of gems have you had in the past that you think? What do you think was the secret ingredient to those gems? Do you think it was splitting that opinion, or do you think it was just right time, right place, or?
As cliche as it sounds, it's going to be a combination of all of the above. With content that has gone viral for myself, I've known it's a good piece of content, but typically the content that I've put out, I never think one piece of content is generally better than another piece. There could be something which got 80 likes a couple of days before, and then one gets 10,000, but it's just because you've hit the topic at the right time, you've divided opinion the right way, you've said something different, the presentation might be great, you might have said something interesting, something funny, and it's just pulled away. Typically you don't know why that is, but if you're getting content which consistently gets 100, 200, 300 likes, you're doing something right. And if it is that big piece of content, it will drive off on its own steam, but you need to consistently produce content which you feel is of the same level, and then it's for the market to decide whether it is great or not. And I think for me, it's you've just said something different. You've opened up a new debate, and that's where you've really struck gold. But I've been surprised by some of mine that have of their own. But that's just from consistent engagement with the platform, and looking at those nuances and looking where can you add something different.
Yeah, great. And when you're looking to build a kind of tone of voice for yourself or a client, where do you typically start with that?
I would say that practice. Unfortunately, you need to post. You need to start posting. Really, you need to. Typically, what I would do with people is do something called a brain dump, where you sit with them and you understand all the things that they want to talk about. And people say, I want to talk about marketing, I want to talk about recruitment, I want to talk about selling my product, or this thing in the market which I think is so radical and whatever. And what people typically fail to grasp is that they're thinking about what they think other people want, not what other people actually want. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of your audience and go, what is interesting to my audience, and how can I put myself and my business and my products and service into those situations to bring context. That's the real goal there. And that's what people typically fail to understand, is that they go, this is relevant for the market. And it's like, well, yeah, it is relevant, but how relevant is it to you? Why should your audience care? And that's what people fail to grasp. With tone of voice, I think you have to be comfortable with it. People see the way that I talk and the way that I write, and my humor is that I like to make fun of myself, right? And I talk local in my language, but that is the same way in which style in which I speak and the language patterns, because I write how I speak. If that is not genuine to you, I wouldn't try and do that, because if you're, Kevin from accounts and you're pretty dry and you're very corporate, I wouldn't suddenly go against your personality. But if you can have a drier, more corporate stance and still produce great content. With someone like myself, because I'm a marketer, the stakes are even higher. I need to produce even better content to stand out against other marketers. Whereas if you're an accountant or you're a solicitor, because the barrier to entry is so low in terms of the creativity aspect, you can go 10% above the line and be radically innovative and cool in your sector. So I think you have to take stock of what your sector is and your position and what you're comfortable with, and then go 10% above that line, and that's where you start, and then you just see how people react to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when it comes to tone of voice as well, personally, when I was kind of developing my content, the more it was away from my comfortable, my level of comfort, it was the harder it was for me. So when I started writing in my own tone of voice, it actually became a bit more natural. I was producing quicker content. So yeah, definitely.
Go on. Sorry.
Sorry. How do you know which platform is right for you? So LinkedIn's really hot right now. Where do you start when looking for the right platform?
It's a difficult question. It completely obviously depends on your personality. It depends on your industry, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to sell. I've come to LinkedIn pretty late in the game. I started about a year ago with producing content, and I got 12 million views within about 12, 13, 14 months now. So that's how long I've been using LinkedIn for proper marketing BD purposes. My background is I had a fashion business myself, which I started out of university and sold that a few years later, which was really successful due to content marketing on Snapchat, Instagram and Facebook, and using the organic reach on those platforms, and then driving in paid campaigns on Google and PPC and all that sort of standard stuff. But I was selling a consumer product, so going on Facebook and Instagram made a lot of sense. Whereas if you're selling a professional services service product, it makes a lot more sense to sell that on LinkedIn. So it depends. It depends what you're selling. If I'm selling,
it's a hard question.
selling clothes, I'm probably not going to create a LinkedIn page because I'm not going to be driving engagement and sales via that. Whereas it depends I think it's whether it's consumer or business, B2B, B2C. My personal preference, I've consulted in B2C and B2B. My personal preference is B2B because the creativity level in the B2C market and the data, it's very data metric heavy in the B2C market because you're running content campaigns linked to sales straight away. Whereas in B2B, it can be around awareness and market penetration, whereas it's sales straight away. That's all it is. If you're running a content campaign on Instagram and you're selling a product direct to the consumer, you're going to be judged on your sales straight away. So you don't have any time to build brand. So I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve. But in terms of most people that are big in terms of pushing content marketing on LinkedIn are looking to build personal brand for themselves to leverage their business or the product or service that their business sells. So I think everyone's really on the same page with why they're trying to do that.
Great. And obviously you consult for people looking to build LinkedIn profiles and things like that. And we spoke last week about some objections you might come across that, sometimes that a CEO doesn't maybe want to put a certain piece of content out because he doesn't feel like he thinks it's too much.
Yeah.
How do you know when it's too much? And how do you overcome those objections, either kind of for your customers, or how do you overcome those objections in your head where you're not quite comfortable?
Well, I think so there is a line which a client or individual new to this will need to overcome. But there's also a line to which you need to respect the boundaries of what's acceptable in the market and what's acceptable for that person. If a piece of content goes against your line of morality, where you want to sit and how you want to be perceived, if it goes against that, the content's not right for you. You don't have to be completely edgy in order to get your point across, but also you have to be willing to push the boundaries in order to drive engagement and say something different. Because if you're sitting very, very safe, you're typically never going to say something different to what other people have. I said earlier that one of the big elements of great content is dividing opinion and creating new opinions off the back of content. And typically the biggest concerns of people around content is, what if someone says this? What if someone, comments that? Or, what if they perceive it in this way?
Yeah.
If content which is written correctly, the analysis of that will have been done previously. So here's a really good example of that. So Nike, a few years ago, do you remember a guy called Colin Kaepernick, the American football player who took a knee during the American national anthem against Trump?
Yeah.
So Nike announced him as a global ambassador and fronted up one of their new marketing campaigns. And all across America, you had people that were radically against the movement that he was a part of, burning Nike products in the street. And burning products, we'll never buy from Nike again, all this sort of stuff. And yet Nike's sales dramatically increase off the back of that campaign because they've done an analysis of who is their target market, who are their buyers, and their buyers supported Colin Kaepernick and what he stood for. So when they came out and supported him, they were gaining more admiration from their target market, which drove more sales. So the people that were massively against them weren't really their core customers. So they were comfortable with dividing opinion based on an educated, not guess, but an educated decision in order to support that person. And the same thing happened with Tiger Woods when he won the Masters last year. Obviously, a lot of people over the years for different indiscretions that he's done over the years for Nike to drop him and all that sort of stuff. And they launched a campaign off the back of Tiger winning the Masters. And again, they sold more golf equipment and made more money because they were seen to, still support him through everything that's happened. And, the 0 to nothing story, is compelling. So good content and dividing opinion is educated in terms of where it's going to be divided. So when I produce content, I know what the other side of the argument would be and where that discussion would come from. But also you need that in order to drive the content, because if everyone's wildly positive, there's not really any debate. There needs to be constructive argument on both sides, which drives the engagement. So you do want it to a certain degree, but you need to be educated. But people that are doing this for the first time come out and just say radical things. Those are the people that haven't looked at that data beforehand. So it's something that you really need to consider.
Great, and thanks for those examples. They're really good examples. On some quick fire questions for you, and this can be kind of content related or a bit wider in marketing. What brands inspire you right now, and what do you think they're doing right?
So obviously the situation we're in at the moment, I think the business so I do a lot of employer branding work as marketing director for our recruitment clients to help them mold better employer brands, become more appealing, more easier for us to recruit staff for them, and be more transparent, all that sort of stuff. And I think that the brands that inspire me at the moment are the ones that, one, stick by their employees. They're not furloughing their staff when they don't need to, or if they are furloughing their staff, they're paying them their full salaries. They're not asking for government bailouts. And they're also communicating with the market. I think the ones that are truly great places to work, and it's not gimmicks, it's not free lattes on a Friday, it's the ones that genuinely look out for their staff. And the CEOs which are doing a good job of that are the ones that have this, it's called a glass box mentality. The ones which are out there talking to the press, they are out there or in their personal brands on LinkedIn talking to the market, saying this is what our organization is doing, this is how we're doing it, this is why we're doing it. Those are the businesses which I admire, especially at the moment, and they inspire me. The ones which I don't admire and don't inspire me are people like Weatherspoons as an easy example.
That's the example I was thinking of.
Yeah, and it's at the forefront of everyone's mind, where he hasn't supported his staff, which all staff and all of their customers are now going to think, well, he hasn't supported his own staff, and that's a terrible thing. So his brand reputation has gone through the floor. And I think at this moment in time, the great businesses to work for are the great businesses to work for. They're not the ones with a slide in their office or what you could perceive as benefits, because benefits don't make a great place to work. A great place to work is people that support you, pay you, and look out for you. And you do the same in return. So I think that the brands that typically are more open, you think about the best example of this for sort of CEOs would be Elon Musk. He's on Twitter, he's online, he's on LinkedIn, he's giving his opinion to the market, he's letting everyone know what Tesla, SpaceX, all those companies are doing. You then look at Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook and Instagram. No one really knows what his opinion is on anything, because he uses a black box approach where he sort of feels where he's mitigating risk by not really saying anything or just saying things by corporate channels. Whereas if he had more of an opinion and more of a personality in the market, he would have greater respect. Whereas people like Elon Musk, he has a lot of people, he does divide a lot of opinion with some things he says, but the people that do like him really support him, because at least you can have an opinion on him. Whereas people like Mark Zuckerberg, who don't come out and say anything, you can't have an opinion on them. Yeah,
definitely. What tools and software should every marketer in your field be using? So is there any way to measure that reaction that you expect? Anything that you can think of that would help?
Yeah. So firstly, as sort of a content marketer, first and foremost, I have a problem with software and strategy and all this stuff, because people seem to think that there's something that you can buy which will make your results so much better, right? And one of the great things about content marketing is that you can test content marketing ideas and concepts, and then if they work, you can then put money behind them. You can run extensive paid advertising campaigns. You can SEO that content really heavily if you know that it organically works. So with software, you got your Hootsuite auto scheduling tools and all that stuff, and people go, I'm going to fill up my content calendar for the next week and a half without any regard for how that content's going to work. And are you not going to review how Tuesday and Wednesday went before you do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? So you've got to analyze content as you do it and as the market reacts to it, because you'll learn something. There are really great analytics tools such as Shield. Shield is something which integrates with your LinkedIn profile and basically gives you greater analytics than LinkedIn will. So it gives you your post reach, your engagements, your most view posts. It analyzes all that stuff for you. So it just gives you a better data library.
Yeah.
However, it's more for you to keep, it's like having a Fitbit. It will help you keep track of what you're doing, but it's not going to, the data metrics won't inform so much what you're going to do. It's going to be more of a qualitative analysis rather than quantitative in this respect. But yeah, those are useful, but obviously take them with a pinch of salt and try and have a look at what's going on outside of just the data analytics.
Yeah. Where would you point marketers to? Any books, podcasts, websites, or anything like that to learn more about content marketing? Anything that you found useful?
I think being involved in the platform first and foremost. I can fully say that my engagement definitely increased the more that I engaged with other people on the platform. So more people that I engaged with that were interested in the sort of content that I put out. I was engaging with content that interested me and commenting, adding to debate. And funny enough, that's how you build relationships. So you engage in a conversation, have a debate on someone else's post, and then when you put out one, the same thing will come back to you. I used to manage influencers on Instagram. And these influencers would be categorized from 5 million plus all the way down to about 200,000-300,000, and they'd be categorized by industry, so beauty, health and fitness, lifestyle, home, whatever it might be. And basically, you've heard about pods on LinkedIn, and everyone's going crazy about pods. And pods have existed for 5, 6 years on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook especially, where people will comment and give comments. When done in a more organic way, that helps build a community. But you have to be interested in the content and actually create more debate. If you just say, great post, Scott, love it, it's not going to drive much interaction. Yeah, it will share that to your network, but it's not going to drive that much for you. So I think a great tip is to engage with content that you enjoy, because you'll learn more. In terms of books, there's a great book by a friend of mine, Dan Kelsall. It's called Fucking Good Content. He's also just released another book the last few days in order to raise some more money. So check out Dan Kelsall's profile. He's a really great content marketer who's based up in Manchester, the same as myself. And it breaks down the BS that goes with content marketing and what people try and get too tactical with it. And the best place to start is to start courses. You've got people like Chris Williams who do courses. You've got a friend of mine, Mr. LinkedIn, Mark Williams, who's been on the platform for about 12 or 13 years now, teaching people on how to use it. There's lots of people who provide courses and all those sort of things. But if you're engaging with those people buying their courses and those sort of things, you need to understand that you probably need to be devoting a decent amount of time. There's nothing that those courses will teach you unless you open yourself up to that learning as well. But lots of cool influencers, get out there, see who's getting big likes on their posts. If you're interested in them, you can also search on LinkedIn by hashtags, by topics. So my hashtags, I don't really like to do sort of topical hashtags. I make fun of my posts or what the nuance of what I'm saying by my hashtags, but you can search by topics. So you could find the leaders in your industry via hashtags and via topics. So that's a good way just to fill your newsfeed with more stuff that you like, basically.
Awesome. Fantastic. Where should people be spending most of their time in content? So maybe it's the curation aspect, or I know that you think quite deeply and spend quite a bit of time during that kind of thinking process. And I think you said last week that each post is not just something that you quickly write, it's something that you really think about. So where would you be spending most of your time when you're creating content? Is it analysis afterwards or is it beforehand?
So I would say beforehand, really. So if I put out one post, I probably write 3, or I have 3 or 4 ideas. So I'll brainstorm ideas of things I want to write, whether I hear something on the radio, I read something, I go, well, that's a good topic. And I'll write it out and I'll go, okay, where could I go with this? And then I keep expanding. And then I go, is this point of view? I've written things where I've changed the point of view or the aspect of how I've written because it works better and different things like that. So I would spend your time writing out concepts of content, how you want to approach things. And when you've got 2 or 3 examples in front of you, you'll be able to go, okay, this is what I'm going to go with. And sometimes I'll do one post and I'll go, okay, that's the post. That's going to work really well. I'll put it out on a Tuesday. Doesn't do that great. And the post, which I didn't think was that good, that I put out on a Thursday, went really well. It's because I'm looking at different topics and looking at different opinions. And also you don't want to be pushed into a corner that you've got to talk about this one thing that you've worked on and whatever. And also the point is the content should be easy, but it shouldn't be so difficult that it puts you off doing it. And I think that's one of the reasons why most people don't do it, is that they fully don't have the time. That's why you have to write content as and when it inspires you, and when you feel like you've got something, write it, put it on notes, record a voice note. That's what I do. And then it keeps track of all that stuff. Adele writes her songs when she's drunk, because that's when she feels inspired. So it's getting into that. Obviously, you have to analyze how things have gone. I had a sort of an epidemic curve in terms of the engagement on my own post when I first started out. But as I improved and analysed more effectively, wrote wider, more understood my tone of voice, my engagement increased on a proper bell curve, because I was practicing more, I was analysing what worked and what didn't. And that's what I would say that you need to spend your time on. And also, stay grounded. Don't get too down if your content's not working. Look at why it's not working. If you get a post that gets 10,000 likes, great. But you want your next post to get, a few thousand or a few hundred, and you want to keep that line of engagement fairly steady. Going viral for the sake of it won't help you or your business, because they don't like you. They like what you said. So that's what you need to be conscious of, and try and map that over a longer period.
Awesome. So where can people find you if they want to hear more? And have you got any request of the audience?
So I'd say my first request to the audience is to start writing content, whether that's video, whether it's blogs, whether it's graphic design led, interviews, podcasting. I would say start. Also start to enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy something, you won't stick with it. It's like going to the gym. It's like whatever. That would be my request, is to start, see and see what the results are. And also don't be too afraid of what people think of you, because you'd be drastically surprised as to how much people don't care about you or what you've said. We all have a higher, we all think that people care more about what we say than what we do and what people will think. And, most people won't have an opinion. They won't like it, they won't dislike it. They'll be like, oh, okay. So don't get too scared by what people might think or might say, because that will scare you off from doing it. So that would be my request, is for people to start. In terms of where you can find me, I have a podcast called Thought Bubble, which is a podcast where I do similar to what we're doing today. I speak to thought leaders, and I try and get outside of my own little bubble and speak about topics that engage me and I think will engage other people. So I talk about mental health, I talk about marketing, I talk about recruitment, I talk about content creation, I talk about LinkedIn in general, and just a really wide range of topics. So if you want to know more about what I'm interested in, check that out. Also have a look at my profile. It's linkedin.com/Scott Millward. Put a lot of different content on there. And also a little plug, if anyone wants some recruitment stuff done, my business that employs me, Matt Burton Associates, we are a RPO, recruitment process outsourcing business. So give us a shout if you need any support with your recruitment. But yeah, that's me. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. And just one final question to end. What will make you excellent in a single sentence or maybe paragraph in this area of marketing, if you just kind of summarize?
What would make me excellent?
The audience.
Or the audience. I was going to say, I haven't got anything. I think what will make you excellent is consistency. If you don't apply the correct principles consistently, you're not going to get the results. And also brand building, whether that's personal brand, employer brand, it's about over the long period. It takes time for people to know you. People could see your posts 3-4 times and still not really understand you. I've had clients come to me after seeing my post for 6 months, and I didn't even know that they were engaging with it. I didn't know they were consuming it, and they went, okay, here's a question. I'm going to reach out to you now because I now understand you, or I've built relationships with people over 6, 9, 12 months. It's not over the short period. So real personal brand is down to you're better off a smaller audience fully understanding you and engaging with you rather than lots of people knowing not very much about you. So I'd say consistency and applying your principles and trying to improve over a period of time, that will bring you the best results.
Brilliant. All right, thank you very much, Scott. That's been fantastic.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Right, thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.